This is the Time TKL, and it's time. You see this right here? This is a cherry patented key switch for a keyboard. The patent was filed back in 1959. This is a timeless piece of keyboard history. Behind this switch, though, is the Time TKL. It's an understatement to say this keyboard simply looks unique. It's reminiscent of an era that never happened in keyboards, yet the design looks forward to a time we'll probably never have. Clockwork machinations, colored accents, and cogs that go nowhere. This keyboard aims to have a very specific aesthetic, and I think it handles it quite well. Before the Time TKL, the closest you could get to something like this would be a Datamancer keyboard, but that's hardly what many in our community would consider enthusiast grade, considering some of their prices and switch options. This is a custom, not a modern heirloom. Love it or hate it, the artistic design of this keyboard definitely puts it far apart from the traditional custom keyboard. This prototype Time TKL features the base kit in the charcoal option with the sand gold accents. All the aluminum is anodized CNC'd 6063, which feels amazing to the touch. I received the 84 key version, which is the most sensible version. With a name like that Time TKL, no layout looks more timeless than the Win keyless layout. It's the layout this keyboard deserves. Choosing a standard bottom row should be considered sacrilege when considering a keyboard of this magnitude. But in this hobby, it's always different strokes for different folks. The base kit will run you $458 US. It includes the top and bottom of the case, the aluminum weight and accents, the logo plate in the front, the switch plate, and this amazingly pristine looking jet black matte PCB, which is easily reprogrammed with Bootmapper client for scrubs like myself. Sorry QMK geeks, it's not your turn just yet. Oh, and to sweeten the deal, zFrontier, our sponsor who's running the group buy, decided to throw shipping in for free. I know a lot of you in the community may be bemoaning aluminum weights and accents, but hear me out here. It's a relatively inexpensive way to add color accents and artistic designs to keyboards, especially when you have an awesome black and gold look like this. If you're a true baller and you're not willing to go below the brass standard, there are upgrades available. Brass weights and accents are about $100 extra PCBs, extra plates, switch tops, removable plates, and even Alps plates, which the PCB supports, all extras you can add on to your purchase. Of course, once you start adding on more and more goodies, the price is definitely going to start rising. The good thing is, though, there are choices for everyone. It just depends whether or not people will want to afford them. When this keyboard has such a unique look compared to a traditional custom TKL, I'll often have to lay her down on her front side so I can appreciate her rear. Like a good stockholder, I like to appreciate the assets. Those machined lines, those intricate parts, all completing the artistic package that is the Time TKL. The true show of this keyboard. The assembly of all the pieces of this keyboard is remarkably easy. Despite how complex it may look and how many parts it has, it's pretty easy in just a few screws here or there. And with all these accents, you'd swear this keyboard was packing more metal than Mr. T in his prime. Keyboards are supposed to be like turtles though. They shouldn't be living their lives upside down. They should be allowing you to move forward. Like how my bicycle is a vehicle through space, keyboards are a vehicle through technology. So let's take a look at this keyboard face on. When we look at this keyboard face on, it's quite a nice typing experience, now that it's all set up. I've built this one here with Telios, which are a linear switch available from zopc.net. Telios are a 67-gram linear that feel remarkably smooth. How smooth? Straight from the box to this keyboard, these are the smoothest stock linear switches I've tried. Zelios from my Philios? Yeah, right. More like Telios are what's real. Yo? A few weeks back, Quakem said, put a gun to his head and he'd say Telios are the smoothest linears he owns. I'll say that without a gun to my head. Hell, I'll come out and say it. Bring it on, Cherry, Kale, and whoever else seeks this smooth linear throne. As far as I can see, Zela sitting on top with these Telios waiting to be dethroned. And if you're not about that lube life and you have some dosh to spend, Telios are currently my favorite stock linear switch, which I'd highly recommend. Above these Telios switches are a beige BSP set. BSP used to make some of the absolute best PBT keycaps out there. Cherry profile, nice and thick with die-subbed legends. These sets are timeless, like this keyboard itself. Cherry profile, row 5 bottom row, GMK spacebar unfortunately. The lack of compatibility, banana right shift, and use of dimbles instead of scooped homing keys are my only complaints when it comes to this set. Otherwise, I'll take these over an Enjoy PPT set any day of the week. So with all these parts together on this aluminum plate, typing on this keyboard is interesting because of how high it sits. In pictures, it looks relatively tame, but the bottom of the keyboard sits almost 1.5 times the height of the tallest part of my wrist rests. It's most likely all that added space inside, which creates some odd acoustics when typing. Acoustically, this case is far from perfect, but I've fit some craft foam inside, so the keyboard doesn't ping as much when I'm typing. But when typing on it, it feels quite nice even with this height. There isn't an aggressive angle that makes your wrists want to slit themselves, and not having a Windows key isn't an issue for me. I only use my left mods, so my right alt is my Windows key when I need it. This is a pretty nice keyboard to have, to be honest. When I type through it, it feels wonderful with or without a wrist rest, and that's most likely due to the flatter angle it shows in addition to the high height of the keyboard itself. It's a very classic look. I'm really loving these aluminum accents as they rise on the side, front, and back of the keyboard. I'm loving the back design. It's very intricate and it's very elegant. This is what you're truly paying for, how this keyboard looks. I'll be sad to see this keyboard go when I send it over to Quakeums for his written review, but I hope he'll have a great time with this keyboard like I did. So is this keyboard worth its value? Honestly, if you're buying a keyboard like this, you want it because of how it looks. I like how it looks, but I don't know if I personally would spend the money for a Time TKL. But when using it and appreciating this keyboard, I can see why there are many who would. Hello everyone, this is a little Time TKL afterword. Some extra things I noticed while finishing up this review that I couldn't get into the script on time. It seems like while the anodization for the charcoal looks really nice, that flat matte black, the anodization quality is decent, but it seems very, very prone to fingerprints and even scratches. So it's something to consider if you get the charcoal black. When I was assembling and reassembling, the hands for the quote-unquote clock part were a bit fragile on the ends, so be careful when reassembling and assembling those. One of mine I've constantly bent, and I've always tried to bend it back, but eventually, while unassembling it actually broke off the tip right at the end. So please be really, really careful with your Time TKLs. Still a very beautiful board, but definitely extra things to consider for a case like this. Thank you so much for watching, and here are some more typing sounds. A special thank you to our sponsor, zFrontier, for sponsoring this review by providing us with the prototype for us to do the review with. Check out the Time TKL on their website in the description below. The group buy will be ending pretty soon, so hop on board if you haven't already.